It was a sweltering July afternoon, the kind where even the asphalt seems to sweat under the sun. I had just returned to my ranch after a quick run into town when I noticed something unusual in the driveway of a neighboring property. HOA Karen's latest stunt. She was standing by her SUV, glaring around as if daring anyone to challenge her authority, and the car door was locked. Inside, I could see a young child fidgeting, clearly uncomfortable in the rising heat. My stomach sank. I knew Karen's temperament all too well. She had escalated from petty HOA complaints to full-blown harassment campaigns. This, however, was beyond anything I had seen. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911 while keeping a careful eye on Karen. Within minutes, a CPS worker and local law enforcement were en route, alerted by both my call and an anonymous tip from a concerned neighbor who had also witnessed the scene. When the officials arrived, Karen was attempting to justify her actions. "It's none of your business. I'm teaching her discipline," she barked, her voice rising with every passing second. The CPS worker, a seasoned professional with years of experience dealing with neglect and abuse cases, immediately recognized the gravity of the situation. She asked Karen to step aside and attempted to unlock the car. Karen resisted, citing some fabricated parental authority clause in the HOA's obscure rules. I stayed back, quietly recording the scene. Karen's usual bravado faltered slightly under the watchful eyes of the authorities. But she quickly tried to shift the narrative, pointing fingers at me and claiming I had no right to interfere. The CPS worker didn't waver. She calmly instructed Karen that locking a child in a hot vehicle, especially during peak temperatures, was considered child endangerment and could result in immediate arrest. Karen, never one to accept reality, refused to cooperate. She argued, pleaded, and even tried to call the HOA for legal backup, as though the board could overturn child protection laws. By now, local law enforcement officers had arrived on scene, noting the temperature inside the car and the child's discomfort. The officers confirmed what the CPS worker had already observed. The child was at serious risk. With everything documented and the situation clearly dangerous, the CPS worker made a decisive call. Karen would be arrested on the spot for child endangerment. As the handcuffs clicked around her wrists, her protests became frantic and unhinged. "This is an outrage. I run this neighborhood," she yelled, ignoring the stares from neighbors who had gathered to witness the spectacle. For once, her power and influence within the HOA meant nothing. The law was unyielding. The child, now safely escorted from the vehicle, clung to the CPS worker and let out a small, shaky sigh of relief. I could see the relief on the officer's face as well. They had dealt with difficult situations before, but Karen's theatrics had pushed the limits of patience and protocol. Evidence was collected: photos of the locked car, temperature readings, witness statements, and my video footage. The authorities confirmed that this would not just be a slap on the wrist. Karen would face criminal charges, fines, and potentially lose custody privileges if she continued her reckless behavior. Word of the arrest spread quickly. Neighbors, long tired of her manipulative tactics and HOA power plays, started sharing their own experiences, painting a picture of a woman whose obsession with control had escalated far beyond normal community disputes. The local media even picked up the story, running headlines about the HOA Karen arrest for child endangerment, a cautionary tale of entitlement and the consequences of abusing authority. Over the next few weeks, Karen attempted damage control, claiming her actions had been misinterpreted and that the CPS worker was biased against her. Her HOA allies, once quick to defend her, now avoided involvement, knowing that her legal troubles could taint their reputations as well. The arrest became a pivotal moment, a demonstration that no HOA rule or self-proclaimed authority could supersede the law, especially when it came to the safety of children. For me, the incident was a stark reminder of the extremes Karen would go to in her attempts to assert dominance over the neighborhood. I continued to maintain a safe distance, documenting interactions and preparing legal precautions to ensure she could not leverage the HOA for further harassment. The authorities made it clear: any attempt to interfere with official investigations or endanger others would be met with immediate consequences. By the end of the month, Karen had been formally charged and was under strict supervision. Her reputation in the community was irreparably damaged. Neighbors now wary of her antics, and her influence over the HOA board severely diminished. The child involved, thankfully unharmed, had been safely returned to their parents, with a clear warning to Karen that future attempts at control or intimidation would escalate her legal troubles even further. As I walked through my ranch that evening, watching the sunset over the pastures, it struck me how fragile authority can be when wielded recklessly. Karen had believed she could bend rules and manipulate neighbors, but her actions had consequences far beyond HOA fines. The law, impartial and firm, had reminded everyone that no one, not even a persistent HOA Karen, was above it. Peace returned to the ranch, and for once, I could focus on the land, the animals, and the quiet joy of knowing justice had been served without me lifting more than a finger to call it into motion.